making up a little ground with y'all's favorite, a pack review, a whole pack review, where you guys get to see me eat like, what, 3 pints? Probably half of all of these. Anyways, here's the deal. Y'all know I love to ramble. I'm keeping this under 15 minutes because IGTV won't let you load up a video via the app longer than 15 minutes. So we've got to review all these in 15 minutes. You know I can go longer. We're gonna keep it short and sweet. Excuse all the different looking containers. This is when she was converting from the, what is this, paper? Yeah, whatever, to the plastic. So I got a little, I was the test subject, she told me. I got a little mix and match of each. All right, so it is the chunk pack, way back from January. I think this came out like a week after I got COVID. I told y'all you're never gonna hear the end of that. So, and it got phenomenal reviews. Like it was amazing what I was reading, hearing, seeing. So basically she went all out and she just did chunkage. It is just for the mix-in lovers. Don't get me wrong, the ice cream is still great, but tons of mix-ins you will see real soon. So we got 6 pints, and we're gonna start with Banilla Killa. And I'm wearing this hoodie in hopes it doesn't look too tight on me. It feels snug as heck though. These larges are killing me, Hallie. All right, so Banilla Killa. Vanilla bean and fresh banana ice cream with candied Nilla wafers and a butterscotch caramel. She says to try this one with an affogato. I bet that would be nice right about now. But right off the bat, I mean, this sucker is straight out of the freezer. I mean, look at this. I'm squeezing that baby. For some reason, it's not freezing. I don't know why. It doesn't bother me, but the texture is a little, I'm gonna call it, like, I don't want to call it gummy in terms of it being bad, but it's gummy like, it's just a big, almost like a marshmallow fluff swirl. That's the texture you have here. It's like sticky, gooey, hard to pull apart. It's different for Panna. Flavor-wise, I'm gonna be quite honest. I don't love it. I almost think they're competing. Like, I feel like I should taste more banana. I feel like I should taste more vanilla bean, and they're kind of just button heads, canceling each other out. I do get a banana sweetness and also a vanilla bean flavor, but like I said, I guess I expected more of but since it's a banana-based pint that normally overpowers, I expected more banana, and I'm just not getting that here. It's not bad, just not what I expected. Dripping caramel on my counter in my description sheet here. I'll tell you one thing, it is hot in here wearing this hoodie in, what is it, April, late April. I'm trying to get you some Nilla wafers. Candied Nilla wafers. All these little chunks are basically chopped up, not ground up, chopped up Nilla wafers. And I'm very impressed. Incredible texture. I kind of thought they might get hard. Far from it. Very soft, very chewy. Like they've been soaking up the ice cream. Even a little gritty. Like the candied, like the inside still has that little grit crisp to it. They don't scream Nilla wafer, but they are very sugary, floury. I think it's the coating around the Nilla wafer that's causing it to be so sweet. Look at this at the bottom. Yeah, baby! Tons of Nilla wafer. Now that is a lot crunchier. I guess because it was, yeah, she literally put it on the bottom and then added the ice cream. Smart move, smart move. Dang, I'm dripping everywhere. All right, the butterscotch caramel, maybe that's why the base is so sticky. I don't really notice it. I mean, in some parts, you can see a little bit of the swirl mixing at the top here. It's gonna fall off my spoon. But to be honest, I'm not getting a lot of it. And maybe, like I said, maybe that's because it's blended into the base. I definitely don't get any butterscotch. Caramel, maybe. It would have been an awesome pairing with the banana, I'll tell you that. I should have ramped it up more. So it's lacking. It's pretty much missing. I only had 1 or 2 spurts. Can't really judge it, but it is thick and gooey, which makes me think maybe that's why the base is so, you know, not as creamy as usual. I'm indifferent with this one. I have to call it average, especially for Caffe Panna. More caramel for sure, and more banana, and I think it would have been a lot better off. 6.5 out of 10. Next up is sweet dough. Now, y'all, chocolate chip studded brown sugar and vanilla bean ice cream. So that's just the ice cream with chunks of salted chocolate chip cookie dough. All right, just hold your horses. Get this lid off. Look at this. That, my friends, is chunkage. Pure chunkage. Man, I'm so excited I don't even know where to start. Can't stop eating. The base is brown sugar, it's vanilla bean. It can easily be summed up, and that's what I'm gonna do, so we can move on and get to these reviews without me rambling. Molasses. Huge molasses vibe going on with this ice cream. You guys have no idea. Some of you do, because you bought the pack. These chocolate chips, they're not chips. I wish you could see the thickness of these things. Much thicker than your typical, I'm not, what do they call it? Throwing jabs here, but much thicker than like a Ben & Jerry's flake. You know, it's got some substance to it. It's got a nice, soft crunch. Like it would melt in your mouth, but if you bite right into it, it's firm, a little crunchy. As for the flavor, I think it was a smart move that they went with a more, sorry, I'm just like so excited, I'm just shoveling it in my mouth. They went with a much more dry, darker, bitter chocolate, which is great because of the sweeter molasses base. And look at, I mean, they're literally everywhere. Every bite, you're getting chocolate chip. I'm already feeling the sugar, and we're 2 pints in. I got to slow down. All right. God, it's good. So then we have these massive, here, salted chocolate chip cookie dough chunks. And I'm about to throw a curve. I can't believe I'm about to say this. They're almost too salty. Yes, almost too salty. It's salt. A little bit of sweetness, but man, is it salty. I can't stress that enough. It works. There's enough sweetness in the base and a little bit of sweetness in the cookie dough. It works. Easily the saltiest cookie dough I've ever had. Massive chunks. That's actually 2 chunks right there. Massive chunks. And I've said in previous reviews, like, it's got a raw cookie dough texture, like a bite, the grit, the kind of soft gooiness to it. No. This is what I've been meaning to call it the whole time. This is like actual raw cookie dough. Not all the other crap I was talking about in previous reviews. This is as close and real to raw cookie dough as you can get. I really don't think anything more needs to be said. Sweet dough gets a 9.5 out of 10. Next up, and someone's gonna correct my pronunciation, it never fails. Frutti di Biscotti. Just let me know how to pronounce it. All right, so we got a pretty lengthy description here, but we gotta talk about it. It's a Panna style sweet cream base ice cream. If you don't know what Panna is, it's almost as good as ice cream. Yeah, I just said that. Panna is just this, imagine whipped cream on steroids, straight from Italy. Don't get me started. So that is mixed into this sweet cream base. Next, we have hazelnut biscotti, house-made hazelnut biscotti. So the key here is, hold that thought, we'll dig into that later. And then it's got a Italian wild berry swirl. So here you go, check it out. Freaking beautiful. It's hard to taste the base with the biscotti and the hazelnuts and the swirl. So I'm a little disappointed in that, if I'm being straightforward with you, but I also expected that. A sweet cream is a base you use as a canvas to let the mix-ins do the talking. It worked here. I'm sure the team tried to hype it up with the panna, and I wish I could get a spoonful without getting other junk in it, but this is the chunkage pack. It ain't gonna happen. So it's a good canvas. It doesn't scream the famous panna. So when I told you to hold that thought, I was talking about the biscotti. It's a big old chunk, and here's a different big old chunk. Just chunkage, chunks everywhere. So she said the key, they only bake the cookies once instead of twice, as is traditional with ours and most biscotti. And I think that was genius. Why? Because if you've ever had biscotti, I haven't had it much, but I have had it. Ooh, I'm really hot. It's hard. It's crunchy. You normally like dip it in some coffee or something. So had they done that in the ice cream, I think we would have been dealing with a rock hard mix-in. Baking it once, it's great. It's firm. It's like chewing something that's just so dense and thick, but yet chewy. But in the midst of all that dense, soft, firm chewiness, you get like little ground up bits of hazelnut. And they're kind of slightly soggy. Not in a bad way. So it's a crunchier than the biscotti, but it's still chewy. It's like it soaked up some of the cream. So you're biting into all the soft, chewy biscotti, and then you get this nice little firmer crunch. It's a great texture. It's a perfect texture, actually, especially with the size of these chunks. Now, flavor. It doesn't scream biscotti. It's more of a sweet, floury, but I think it's the hazelnuts that are really shining through. Kind of surprisingly, too. Just a nutty, almost toastedness type of flavor that yet is still, I'm gonna say kind of spicy sweet. Like it wouldn't surprise me if there's some spices in here too. Lastly, we've got this Italian wild berries swirl. And let me tell you something. It's delicious, but it is potent. I know. It overpowers a lot of this pint. So while it's literally everywhere, with its let's call it a jam-like consistency. It's not like a gooey, thick caramel or fudge swirl. It's more of like a jelly or jam, you know, that you'd spread on your toast, your PB&J, whatever, however you like to eat it. The flavor, super sweet. It kind of reminds me of but it's excuse me, somebody's blowing up my phone. Super sweet, but it kind of reminds me of Jenny's Brambleberry. It's basically mega berries. It's all the berries. It's your strawberries, your blackberries, your blueberries. I mean, if it's a berry, it's probably in it. Raspberry. So, ultra sweet, fruity berry flavor that unfortunately is a little too potent for this ice cream, but yet very, very tasty. Pretty good pint here. I almost said very good, but I just couldn't do it. I think the average ice cream goer would love this. They'd be all over it. However, I'm not the average ice cream goer. I've been doing this a minute, and I'm here to critique it. Bottom line is, it needs a little more balance. I have to say it. Somebody's got to say it. It needs just a little more balance. Still a good scoop, but the wild berry swirl overpowers most of this ice cream. Frutti di Biscotti gets a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, Holy Cannoli. Real quick, I know I'm gonna catch some hell, PG-13 warning. I know I'm gonna catch some heck about the Frutti di Biscotti ranking. Yes, it maybe could have been an 8, but I'm a little butthurt about it still, so it's staying at a 7.5. I know I'm gonna get some flack about it. Anyways, Holy Cannoli is where did it go? Oh, this base is kissed with Sicilian pistachios and mascarpone for added richness. Then we swirl in cannoli filling and freshly baked pistachio-coated cannoli shells. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Dang gum. Oh, they just whipped my tail. The base. I'm not getting the texture. I don't have the time. It's phenomenal. You know, it is the best ice cream in America, texturally. Creaminess, premium, it's phenomenal. I'm indifferent about the base. It doesn't scream pistachio by any means. A little bit, but it doesn't scream it. It's a slightly tinted green, if you can't tell. But the mascarpone, man, I think she nailed it when she called it rich. Definitely rich. Mildly sweet. It's cheesy, a little nutty. I mean, it's a great mascarpone base. I can't remember. Oh, Ben & Jerry's, I just reviewed with tiramisu. Needs this in it. Mascarpone to a T. Now, I do get a little more flavor in the pistachio-coated cannoli shells. Heck of a unique mix-in, by the way. There's a little more pistachio flavoring going on here. The cannoli shell, I actually am getting a bit of freaking ice cream everywhere. I'm getting a bit of cinnamon. Tastes just like a cannoli shell. It's very well executed, even texturally. So the coating, it's a little waxy, which is expected. It's a coating, but it maintains the crispness, the slight crunchiness of the cannoli shell on the inside. Overall, this is a fun mix-in that I think was very well executed. You can obviously see these chocolate chips are everywhere, and they're pretty good size. I'd say they're maybe not quite dime size, but they're close. They're thick, so they're hard, but I'm digging the crunch. I really do like it, especially contrast the crispy cannoli shells. It's not overly hard by any means. The flavor, it doesn't really stand out. It's certainly a sweeter chocolate, but I think it ties everything together. So I do like the addition of it into this ice cream. It's just not a bold chocolate sweetness. Unfortunately, I'm missing a lot of that cannoli feeling, the swirl. There was a good bit of it on the top. You'll probably be able to see it in the picture I post. I shouldn't say a good bit of it, a pool of it. And it had that choking on a cannoli. Woo! It had a Lord, it had a caramel, like fudge-like gooiness to it. It was very thick and dense. Definitely sweeter. I didn't get the whole ricotta cheese vibe, which it's made with most of the time, but it was definitely a sweeter, a sugary component of the pint. There's a lot of crunch, a lot of texture going on with this one. If you're a cannoli fan, I say give this a go. I personally am not the biggest cannoli dessert eater, but I think this is pretty well executed. It could have been a little stronger pistachio and maybe a little more of that filling. But as far as execution of the mix-ins and just tying the whole flavor together from the mascarpone base to the little bit of chocolate to the cannoli shells that were actually full of cinnamon flavor, this is a very good scoop. Holy Cannoli gets a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, Chunky Velvet. Now, I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert, I can't help it. I'm super excited. I'm saving the best two are coming right now. This one is coconutty cream cheese ice cream. So it's made with coconut cream, and it's flecked with shards of Omano chocolate. And then it has red velvet chunks from a bakery. It says the Blondery. Blondery? Yeah. And also candied pecans. So, I did a little teaser of this on Instagram on my story, but it's one of those, at least this is like one massive chunk of cake, pecan, all like together, and some chocolate, of course. But it's like, where's the ice cream, right? Because the chunk is like, y'all saw how big it was, but like, so the ice cream, so like half of that, like right up to here is like the red velvet chunk. Anyways, I can't ramble. We got to dig in. A lot of people I heard or talked to didn't really like, or shall I say appreciate, the coconut cream cheese base. They freaking nailed it. I'm a coconut fan, and I wouldn't have ever paired it with cream cheese, but it works. I mean, it's got the cheesy creaminess of cream cheese, but it sweetens it just a tad with the coconut sweetness, obviously. but dang, is it good. Completely caught me off guard. One of my only complaints is this thing is freaking dense. The red velvet cake, you might can tell, it's a little dry. I think that's kind of expected. So it crumbles apart a little bit as you pick through it, but it's still like dense and chewy somehow. It's like eating a fresh piece of cake, but it's like crumbly, a little dry. Like I know that doesn't make sense. Basically, it's still got it's not as moist as it could be, but it's still got a great chew. Let's leave it at that. Flavor, everything you want in red velvet. Like a good red velvet, not that fake-ish. A true, mildly sweet with a mild cocoa flavor. That's the best way to say it. It's like bending my spoon. This stuff is so freaking dense. It'll never be the same. I'm seriously trying to break this apart so you can see the cake and those candy pecans. You can tell there the cake's a little darker, a little more moist and gooey. So not as bad as I thought. The candy pecans, there was a few on top that I could get that true, I called it, true like candied grit coatiness to it. Coating to it. But for the most part, it's kind of mixed into the cake, which makes sense because a lot of red velvet cake, it does have pecans in it. Flavor, I'll be honest, I don't do much. There's just a lot of coconut, a lot of cream cheese, a lot of chocolate going on. I do appreciate though the firmer, almost slightly crunchy texture they bring to the table, especially with the softer chew from the cake. Yeah, see, that pecan was really good, really gritty. And when you get, see, I'm eating my words right now. These two pecans, the sweetness is definitely kicked up with them too. I take back all I said. I'm sorry, Caffe Panna. They're freaking nuts. It's like eating a raw pecan. It's not even crunchy. It's like a chew. Real quickly, so I can wrap things up here. You can see all the little shards of chocolate everywhere. Amano chocolate. And Amano is some of the finest. You have to have a palate for it though. It's darker, it's pretty bitter, even a little fruity. I think it works well here because the chocolate in the cake is it's more mild and also a little sweeter. And this contrasts that, like I said, with the dark, bitter, even a little fruity. So you have two different chocolates at play and they almost bring the flavor out of each other even more. Here's another look at a cake chunk as I wrap this up. And the deeper I dug, they got more moist. So there's just a few at the top, I guess, maybe half, that were a little dry, but still had the awesome dense chew. That's really my only complaint. A lot of people are gonna write this off because of the coconut and the cream cheese. I think it's phenomenal. I think it works really well. Not to mention it's super unique. The candy pecans, the Amano chocolate, they're like the cherry on top. I dig it, I love it, you need it in your life. Chunky Velvet gets a 9.5 out of 10. Lastly, we have You Win. Now you all saw this on my Instagram story. It was kind of mind-blowing. I could talk about this for an hour, no lie, but I know I'm running short on time here, so we gotta make it kind of quick. But y'all need to hear me out on this. It is everything you always ask for in one pint. Milk chocolate ice cream, marshmallow swirl, caramel swirl, Oreo brittle, and Reese's cups. Just look at it. Just look. Look. And I really don't even need to go into detail. Milk chocolate ice cream, it's just that. It's a sweeter, milky, creamy chocolate. And I freaking love milk chocolate. And as you can see, plenty of marshmallow and caramel swirls. That's where we're going next. Marshmallow, it's just what you'd expect. It's just like fluff out of the jar. Kind of light, but still thick and obviously super sweet. The caramel, also sweet, but a little more buttery. And let's call it denser, gooier. It's got some, it's a lot thicker than the marshmallow swirl. Then, munching on them now. You got this Oreo brittle everywhere. Everywhere. And, I mean, a lot of y'all have had every component of this ice cream. It's Oreo brittle. It's the wafer of an Oreo. It's got that, I call it a darker, slightly more bitter chocolate flavor. Stands out, which is great because of the milk chocolate ice cream. You gotta have something to, you know, punch that back a little bit. And it's a little salty. Texturally, it's like it's not really crummy. Crummy is not a good word. It's brittle, so it's almost like a little gooey, a little sticky. Like you can taste the grit, the crumbs, but it's enough to where it sticks together and it's not like falling all over the place, crumbling apart all over the place. Just look at it. Please, please. Just look. And lastly, I can't stop eating this, guys. We have chopped up Reese's cups. Not gonna elaborate, y'all have had a Reese's. If not, you shouldn't be following me. Salty, this is where I wasn't upset with the caramel being sweeter because this is where the salt comes in. The peanut butter here is salty. And the chocolate is also a little salty, but it's that kind of milk chocolate sweetness, so it goes in with the base. And they're not frozen hard. Yeah, it's like putting it in the refrigerator. It's got a firm chew to it, but it's not, you know, we're not breaking any teeth here. I hope I have time to get, excuse me, it's like everywhere, get everything out in this video because I should have done this separately. Anyways, you win. Like, she's telling me, like the customer, you win. And you dang sure do. I'm just gonna leave it at this. You're probably not gonna believe it. The best pint I've had in my entire life. I said it. The best ice cream I've ever had in my entire life. Obviously, you win. Gets a 10 out of 10. The best 10 out of 10 that ever existed. Lastly, and there's no conclusion to this pack. This is the conclusion you need to leave. This pack, Chunkage pack, just might be back in July. But you didn't hear that from me. Thanks for watching, guys.